On today's episode, what does it take to throw big balls in honor of the band Ghost? Big balls. All this and more on gonstFM, off air. Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to gonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 gonstFM, the radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm your host, Richie, aka Papa X, aka Papa Meme Emeritus, as so lovingly named by all of you Gonstlings. Being in this fandom, surely you know about Phantasm Events, and if you know about Phantasm Events, you know about today's guest. She's an event coordinator, she's an MC, she's a burlesque model, she's a guestie, but more important than that, she's my friend. Please welcome the lovely and talented Vita DeVoid. How are you, my friend?
Why, hello there, darling. I'm spectacular.
You should be spectacular. You're on gonstFM Off Air with me.
Yeah, my day is just getting better by the minute.
We'll put that to the test here shortly.
Oh, God, it's going to be lightning round any second. I know it.
Oh, yeah. So you've been doing this for some time as far as doing MC work and being a burlesque person. Like, how does one get into that? And more importantly, how did you get started in this? Because you've done this for almost, 10 years or probably longer?
I've been a stage performing artist for 22 years.
Good God almighty. And I've only just, yeah. Okay. I was going to say, because I've only just seen like as far back as 2014, maybe 2013. You know, just
I think that's right around when cell phones were taking really good video to sneak it onto YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm an old lady now. I've been at it for a very long time, and I guess I've kind of always been in show business, but I started professionally in around 2002. Yeah. Wow, that's a long time. That's a whole life. That's a whole person.
Yeah, and it's weird because like we're not that much far apart in age. So anytime I look back at like 2002, I'm like, oh, it wasn't that long ago. And then you really stop to think that was 22 fucking years ago.
It's really crazy how fast it moves. As you grow older, years and months get shorter and shorter and shorter for you.
Yeah, and me being a dad, like that happens faster now because when I watch my son get a year older, that means, oh, shit, dad's a year older and I'm knocking on 40. I'll be 40, 2026, I'll be 40. So
don't be afraid of 40.
I'm not. My beard's not. I'm not afraid of it. My hairline got a head start. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Those are the golden years for me.
Yeah, I think when you turn 40, two things happen. Number one, you wake up the day you turn 40 and you can feel every single vertebrae up your spine. Like, oh, there it is. And also, you give even less of a shit than you did before.
Well, fuck, I've got 10 years on 40 then.
Things are going great. You got a head start.
That's right. So in doing all of this, did you start in Florida? Because that's where you're from, Florida, right? Or you grew up in Florida?
I'm from Florida. Yeah, I'm from a very small, I guess you could call it a town. It's kind of a village. It's a very small city on the central east coast of Florida called Vero Beach. And I was heavily involved in like swing dance and performing arts as much as I could be. And marching band. That gave me my jumpstart in leadership positions. But I had a really big interest in performing arts anyway. And that city was just so small and everybody in it was bored to tears. And you had to drive 3 hours in any direction just to find something cool to do. I was 3 hours from like Orlando, 3 hours from Tampa, 3 hours from Fort Lauderdale. It was just a nightmare being in the middle of nowhere. Like you can drive through my hometown in less than 5 minutes.
Oh, shit.
And I was just starving for entertainment in any capacity. We didn't have a live music scene. There was barely a theater there. And it was extremely conservative and just full of retired Northerners, which was not for me. Yeah, so I ended up moving to Tampa when I was like 19, turning 20-ish. And that's when I really started hitting into nightlife. I started with drag first. I was working in drag shows.
What got you into it?
You know what? I really like glitter.
Don't we all? I love glitter. Shit.
In that phase of Florida drag, everything was just hyper glitter crusted. There were just glitter queens everywhere. Glitter in their eyelashes, glitter in their beards, glitter in their wigs. It was just cocktail jewelry and sparkles, and it was just ridiculous. And I have this magpie attraction to sparkly stuff, so it just kind of drew me in. But it also was just so pageanty and so campy and cheesy and hilarious and funny and sexy. And it was just, this is stuff that I want to be. So I started kind of working around in it as like a backup entertainer. I worked in wardrobe and work in like staging, like live acts on stage and, where dancers need to be and helping them block it all out because they came from dance. And eventually, I was a bartender at a peeler bar, which is like a bikini dancer bar. Tampa's full of those. And they were like, "Hey, you want to do like a burlesque show at my boyfriend's club? He runs a drag bar." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool. What the hell is that?" Because this was like 2002. There wasn't YouTube yet. We didn't have any resources to look at the internet and see, like, oh, this is a hoochie coochie show. This is what to do. Here's a class. Here's how to take off a glove and look pretty doing it. We didn't have any of that. There were no burlesque shows happening at the time. And if there were, they were buried. Nobody knew about them. And where I was living in Tampa, you could either be a drag queen or a dominatrix. There's no in between. There's no room for anything else. And I saw kind of an opportunity to create something there. So I put together a couple of my performing dancer girls from my club, and we sat down and started looking at, movies like Chicago and Moulin Rouge and, just studying like the Three Stooges and Lucille Ball and Buster Keaton and kind of putting vaudeville into it. And then I had some drag queens in the shows too. And they, of course, are all fabulous. So we kind of threw together a little 45-minute show, and there was dance and striptease and feathers, and it was just ridiculous. And it caught on immediately. And it seemed like overnight, every venue in Tampa wanted one of my shows. So we had to start hiring and like training new performers on like how to get the look and the swagger. And I had a drag queen emceeing for me because at that point I wasn't doing it yet. And I was just terrified of a mic being in my face. Like, I can't do this. And eventually she got sick and threw the mic in my hand and said, "Here, you have to host." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, what do I do?" She goes, "I don't know, tell dick jokes." And she just shoved me on stage. And then I was just the host forever. So
Just love getting thrown to the wolves like that.
you do. And that's the best way you can learn when you're working in entertainment. You can't really go to school for drag. You can't go to school for burlesque. There's no degree. There's no study courses. There's no curriculum. You just kind of have to figure it out. We had no training, no mentors at the time. There was nobody to teach us how to do it. We kind of leaned heavily into the drag world as sort of like coaches. Like, okay, well, I see how you do this, you beautiful queen. Like, show me how you did this with your wig and your makeup, and how did you pin this costume on, and how do you walk in these ridiculous shoes? Please help. Like, I don't know how to put a corset on. And they would just help us. And it was amazing. So the drag world and the burlesque were really tightly knit there. As more burlesque shows started popping up, more demand started showing up. So we were traveling outside of Tampa to Orlando and Fort Lauderdale and Miami and Jacksonville and Daytona. And it just became my full-time job. I had to go full-time into it and quit, any supplemental work, which was terrifying because you really don't earn a lot doing these shows.
Yeah, it seems like you have to do more of them to make up for that, but you're so damn good at it,
Thank you. Yeah, it comes with just years of practice and being forced to do more innovative stuff on the fly and being, I had to take improv classes. That really helped. Being able to improvise, because it's not all shows are perfect. You don't walk into a perfect theater with a perfect green room every single time.
Mm-mm.
You could walk into a venue with a plumbing issue where the entire green room is flooded, and surprise, now you have to change behind the bar where everyone can see you into your costume. And hey, by the way, our DJ is sick with chlamydia. He can't come to work today, so you have to DJ too. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to DJ today.
You just have a fucking different hat for everything at this point.
You have to learn how to do it all, and you have to learn how to manage it, promote it, do ticketing. You have to learn how to market everything. You have to learn how to host it yourself, booking it, payouts. You have to learn costume repair and stage management. I think I might have said that already, but it's just there's so many things you have to learn before you can step in as like a showrunner. And I'm still learning. It's never ending. And once you kind of get it down, the technology moves forward and leaves you in the dust. And then you have to relearn everything, like how to do a podcast. Hello, we're doing a podcast.
Yes, we are. So what's been the most fun aspect of it as far as when you were getting into it and having to learn all these things? Was there something that came very naturally as outside of the performance aspect as far as behind the scenes goes versus fuck, this is going to take some time to really get used to?
You have to be honest with yourself and understand where you're weak and know how to take critique from peers that are more experienced than you. Like I said, I didn't have a burlesque mentor, but I had stagecraft mentors that were also working in the music industry,
Right,
and nightlife production and in drag. So I was able to get out of my own ass for a minute and like take critique and learn how to get better, or video myself and learn how, oh God, I move really weird. Maybe I should work on that. Or it's like the movie Showgirls, like you need to work on your turns, like work on the way that you move, learn where your strengths are on stage physically, learn where your charm comes from. If that comes from a shot of whiskey before a show, have a shot of whiskey, get charming, get real brave.
Right.
And it's funny now being a professional speaker, 100% of my job is speaking. I was like a pretty nonverbal kid. Like I didn't talk very much.
And look at you now.
So I know, yeah. I think this is like the 4th pod I've appeared on this week, including my own. Like, yeah, it's all just it's learning as you go and being open to new information. I even learn from people that are brand new in the scene. I just did a mentorship class online last week, and there was a girl in my audience in front of me that I was there for her show debut a month ago, and I learned so much from watching her. She out the gate was absolute perfection from top to bottom. And I learned a lot watching it, like, wow, the way she did that was really inventive. That was really smart. And now I'm applying it. So like always be able to learn. And I feel like when you develop that part of your brain, that comes so much easier. Like go to as many shows as you can, see how every showrunner is operating their stuff, learn from every host. Like I just watched a phenomenal host out here. There's a gal that goes by Harley Harper. She's also a pro wrestling escort. She not escort, but she escorts wrestlers to the stage in pro wrestling. And she emceed a burlesque show, and I learned amazing things from her. She was dynamic, she was engaging, she was funny, she was weird. It was just mind-blowing. And now it's like, well, shit, I have to step up my game and get loud and obnoxious and funny and weirder.
You would be a fucking great wrestling valet. No bullshit. I'm a fucking fan. That. I'm a fucking pro fan, dude. Like that is my shit. I have watched professional wrestling for my entire life. My dad, at one point, one of many hats that motherfucker had, ran indie shows in the late 90s here around South Louisiana, like for a few dates. And that was a goddamn mind-blowing experience getting to know the business side of it at such a young age. Because I was like 12, 13 when that was happening. And so my mind was a sponge. And seeing all of this shit and knowing what goes into it behind the scenes. And like, I'm tying this all in because like, how cool is it that there are so many different aspects to performance art, even though those motherfuckers, they do get hurt. Like I've seen some dudes walk out of that. Yeah. I've seen them walk out with like bruised backs, like just from taking bumps in the ring. I've seen the girls take bumps, like the girls that walk out with these guys. I've seen some of them take bumps. And when I learned that they were in on it, I was like, y'all are some tough motherfuckers, They
are very tough. Yeah. I was obsessed with wrestling when I was a kid. I wanted to be one of the Hardy Boys so bad. I freaking loved those guys. And when I started living in Tampa, that's a major hub for all the big star wrestlers. They all live there.
Yep.
So there were so many nights a week I would run into Dave Bautista at my neighborhood grocery shopping for his produce. And I was just like, holy shit, that's Dave Bautista. And Chris Jericho does like karaoke parties. Like he did little cute listening parties in St. Pete dive bars that I used to go to. That is just a world-class guy. He's so fun to be around. And when I was working at my peeler bar, who was one of the owners? I think there was like a Dean Malenko had something to do with that establishment in some way. I think as an investor or like a part owner or something. So he'd have all these big name wrestlers sitting at my bar and I was pouring their drinks like weekly. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm trying to be so cool right now. Just be cool. Don't stutter. Don't sound like an idiot. And it's like, hi, are you Big Show? You look like Big Show. I love you.
And Paul is the nicest guy.
He's so nice. And the girls in the back rooms would be like, dude, that's just Paul. Will you shut up and leave him alone? Just pour his drink. Jesus, you're embarrassing.
No, that's it. Me, I'd be like, that's not Paul. That's Captain Insano. Are you kidding me right now?
No, my gosh. I loved those guys. I would love to go back to it. I would love to be involved. It's just so dramatic and hilarious.
And funny enough, like Batista used to be a bouncer. And obviously, he's got the build for it. The Hardys are still wrestling.
I know, yeah. And Jeff Hardy has a musical act that he's been touring with as well, with really wild makeup, too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still Paroxygen, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, it's been running for a long time. That band's been active for probably at least 15 years.
He's good.
Good for him.
So how did you make your way from Florida out to California?
Have you ever been to Florida before?
I have been to Florida, and it has been a long time since I've been to Florida. My band toured there in 2005. We went to like Gainesville, Tallahassee, down to Okeechobee and Winter Park, that whole little area, which, bro, Okeechobee was the funnest part of that entire trek. We played.
They get real wild down there.
Yeah, we played. I don't even remember the name of the venue, but it was a bar, a bowling alley, and it had like a stage for bands to play, and then an arcade and all this shit in one building. And I was like, man, this town is smaller than the one I live in, and it has more shit to do. What the fuck?
That's to me, that actually sounds a lot like the Claremont Lounge down in Atlanta. There's kind of everything there.
Yeah, I haven't been to Atlanta in like 3 or 4 years, but I loved it when I went.
Oh, I go every summer for Dragon Con. It's a fun one. Anyway, to answer your question, I'm sorry, I'm just rambling on. So if any one of you listening have ever spent any length of time in Florida, submerged in society in Florida, you will understand why I needed to put as many miles between me and it as I possibly could.
Having just visited, there's some places there where I'm like, this is cool, but then the majority of it, sorry, Florida listeners, I can understand.
I'm not sorry, Florida listeners. I don't miss you at all. Oh my God. It's just, there are people there that I do adore and people there that I do miss desperately and dearly. And I do go back and visit every now and again, but then I just cannot wait to leave. And it's not 100% of the people there, but it is the majority of the people there are just stagnating in this swampy, toxic atmosphere where if you grow beyond your means, or you elevate, or you learn, or you mature, you're seen as an enemy. And they want to claw you back down into the muck. And it's just very gross and it's discouraging. And I was discovering that even people that were super close to me, they would complain about everybody that was giving them work in show business as they were getting on stage, doing the work that those people created for them. And it's just gotten worse over time, and I just couldn't deal with it. There were so many dramatic infights, and depending on because I traveled all over the state daily for gigs. I was driving from Tampa to Miami in one day. I was driving to Jacksonville, Tallahassee, all over and over again. Any day of the week, I was in a different city working. And every time I went back to that city, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to speak to that person anymore that was running that show. And how dare you even like promote that you were working with them? Like, we don't talk to them anymore. And it's like, you might not. They were good to me. They gave me work. I'm sorry. What happened? And it's like, oh, well, like back in middle school, I realized that that's the girl that was like she had the same crush on the same guy that I did. So you can't talk to her. And it was just this weird thing. And it's like, you guys sound like children. You're in your 30s now. I think it's time to grow up. And I got so tired of it. I couldn't deal with it. Even in the performance world, it was just getting worse and worse with just people that were running shows that should not have really been. And I needed to get the hell out of there. I was doing the same circuit of performances over and over and over. And I felt like I was just stuck in kind of a hamster ball. And I needed to break out of it and do other things. I needed to go bigger. I needed more. And the reason that I came here is I'm actually kind of a hurricane refugee. In 2017, in the summertime, we had some really severe storms that came back to back and pretty much decimated Florida. Like the coast was destroyed. Tampa was wrecked. Most of South Florida it looked like bombs went off. It was crazy there. Like trees were down, whole forests were blown off the map, buildings were destroyed. And I found myself at kind of a threshold where I had a lease that was kind of expiring. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put all my stuff in storage. And I crashed on some couches for a couple of days right after the storms because even my work was blown away. Like my bars that I was working for were all flooded and closed down. So, remember when I was talking to you earlier about Repo Genetic Opera?
Absolutely.
Those boys? We had a conversation before we started doing this recording. And I got a call from the boys that were, behind that project. And they said, hey, we've got a music project. We need a roadie. Do you want to hop in? Because we saw that you're kind of going through some shit. And I was like, yeah, I'm free. I don't have a house right now. So let me hop in your van. So right. I got myself out to Burbank and started working on their tour. And we did 2.5 months on the road all over the country. And our last show was in LA. And through the whole tour, I was kind of scoping out the towns that we were stopping in for our gigs and meeting a bunch of wonderful people and making really great friends. And I'm still in touch with almost everybody that I met on that tour. It was wonderful. One of the gals that I met even lent me her tour van to drive all of my items from Florida to Los Angeles. She came on a road trip with me, and it was just so lovely of her. And just a fan of theirs. It was very wonderful. And I love her to pieces. And my last stop was in LA, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to come to California. This seems far enough away from the danger zone that is Florida's atmosphere that I feel comfortable starting over. And I went back to Florida. I broke up with my darling that was there, and that was hard. Sold my car, packed her van, and we drove. So I just had enough. I was sick of it all. I needed to go.
And sometimes you just have to rip it off like a Band-Aid and just fucking take a leap.
It was a long story, but yeah, it was hard because when I was still on the tour, everyone in the van towards the end of it, we were all so excited to like go home and sleep in my own bed and home, home, home. I can't wait to be home. And I'm sitting there with like my beds in storage, and I'm not going to even see the house that I'm moving into until I get there weeks from now after driving. And I was just so exhausted and so brain fried from it. And if you're outside the entertainment industry, you've never experienced tour crash. Tour crash is extremely hard because you go from 24/7 being on. You're constantly working. You've got 6 a.m. van call out of your room every single morning. You've got to load in, you've got to schedule, you've got to find food for the crew, load out schedule, and it's grueling and it's very hard. And then you go from that to zero. And
Yep.
it feels like the floor was yanked from under you and you're just thrown into this silent box that is your room. And where you were surrounded by all of this action and all this energy and all this chaos and all these fans and all this stuff, it's like your lifeline was cut. So on top of dealing with that, I also was going back to Florida, which is depressing enough, grabbing all of my little things that I could fit into this van. And then I had days and days and days of driving all the way across the country back to California. And my God, if my friend hadn't been with me for that ride, it would have been really, really sad.
That's a lot of time to have to yourself to think about everything that you've ever done in your life. You know what I'm saying?
It's very isolating. Yeah, I ended up taking a year off. Gratefully, I had saved everything I earned from that tour. They took really good care of me for that. And I had some money I could sit on for a little while, and I just sat on a bed and dissociated for an entire year. I didn't do anything. I could not move. It was just like this decompression that I desperately needed, that I didn't know how bad I needed it.
Yeah, and
I took a dark turn. I'm sorry.
No, dude, no, you're good, because that's the reality of it. And
it's the reality of being an entertainer. It's not always rainbows and parties.
Yeah, this is the shit that nobody really hears about, and I get it. Tour burnout and just burnout, period, is fucking awful. Like, the way that I would equate it is to, okay, so I have ADHD and spicy brain like a son of a bitch. My brain moves at 90 miles per hour most of the time. Even medicated, it's still fucking fast moving. I would not know what to do with myself if it just fucking stopped and I could actually think clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I would think the fucked up part about that is I would think something is wrong with me. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I was ever at that extreme of a low. And I was so excited to start over, start a new life, new city, new state, new industry. And I was welcomed so generously by my industry here down in San Diego is where I ended up first. And all of the showgirls down there, all the burlesque, all the drag, they were so welcoming, and they gave me some work. I was doing a couple of little shows here and there, but it was nothing steady. Whatever I could do to drag myself, out of my bed rot and, turn into a showgirl and look glamorous. And they were just so kind and so sweet to me. And then I slowly began working in Los Angeles more and more and ended up finally moving here. So,
yeah, how long have you been there for?
I moved to LA, I believe it was late 2018. I think it was around then. I know I was in San Diego for about a year. You have to understand, I also fell into a wine habit at the time that was not great for me. So, yeah.
I know a little bit about that. I know a thing or two about that.
Let me be honest, Auntie Vita has really cleaned her life up from that. But it was a rough start, I think. But I had some wonderful people around me here. They were all very generous and helpful. And I made very quick friends in the industry that were all really eager to get me to work. And I became full-time again in a very short amount of time. It was wonderful. I was invigorated and had my own little personal renaissance. So it's been great ever since. My worst day in Los Angeles is a million times better than my best day was where I'm from.
Good for you, though. Seriously.
Thank you.
Very, very awesome. It's good to see that after all of that, you landed on your feet and you feel stable and you're doing well. So, really what brings us together, like how you and I got to know each other. Obviously, Ghost.
Yeah.
So like getting into more of what you're doing in LA with all of this experience and also your love of this band, my love of this band, our love of this band. How did that start for you? Like, when did you first hear about the band, and what was the song, or what was the moment that you were just kind of like, okay, they fucking got me?
Oh my God. So, I mean, coming from a background of campy drag and like cheesy stagecraft and costumes and dance and just hyper theatrical stuff. When I was still living in Tampa, I was a go-go dancer at a Gothic establishment called The Castle. It's a huge venue. If you're in the Gothic world, you know about it. And I was a dancer there for a long time, and they had these huge screens all around the venue. They played like the cool music videos and graphics and illustrated stuff and neat cartoons for people to watch. And I saw this weird, it looked like a movie, and it was a Cecil B. DeMille, but it was like screwy somehow. It was Madam Satan, and I love that movie. And the costumes, I've actually replicated the costumes for myself and my partner. And I always loved Cecil B. DeMille, and I'm looking at this, and it's like, wait, what's this Pope dude? Why is he flying? Why does this is doing funny things to my insides? What is this makeup? Like I was like, I have to know what this is. And I had never heard the music before either, because they were matching the music to the videos. We had a great VJ at the time. And I went up to the DJ booth after our go-go set was finished, because I was just mesmerized watching this. Like, I completely forgot that I was on shift, supposed to be dancing. And he goes, "Oh, that's just Ghost." And I was like, come again? What? And I was thinking back where I had gone to a horror convention called Spooky Empire, probably 2 or 3 years before that. And there was a Papa Emeritus cosplayer there. And I thought it was something from a video game. Like, I don't know video games, but it looked very video game-ish. And I was like, well, that's a look. That's cool. I am attracted to this. And then I was like, wait, is that the same thing as that skeleton guy? And the DJ was like, are you daft? Like, this is right up your alley. You need to hear this stuff. So I started looking it up. And at that point, I think it was when Meliora had just been released, and there really wasn't a lot of visual media available. There were very few videos, not really interviews. Like, it was all very anonymous at the time still.
Yeah.
And it was not easy to find, because they're not classifiable as a specific genre of music. So going to like a record store, it's going to be kind of tricky to find it, or people were gatekeepy about it in either scene. I worked heavily in the metal scene, and they were all like, "Oh, those guys are like ridiculous. That's not us." And it's like, I'm pretty sure it is, but okay.
Right.
Yeah, one of my other go-go dancers at the club used to do one white contact in her eye. And I used to ask her, like, "Well, what is this? As a look? This is cute. What is this about?" She was like, "Oh, it's because I'm into Ghost now." And I was like, that band again. Huh, I guess I should listen to them more. So I did, and I became obsessed very quickly. And as more of their visual stuff was released, I was like, this sounds nothing like what they look like. And this is so funny, because it's exactly what I do on stage. Is I present myself completely opposite of who I am, and like what I sound like and how I speak. Like, at that point, I was doing a lot of ultra glamorous, almost bimbo-y looking stuff on stage, and I am absolutely not that. And it was like, wow, I found like a kinship with that, like visual versus the juxtaposition of how they sounded. I'm getting like too technical with this.
No, you're not. I think our listeners want to hear this shit. I want to hear this shit. Seriously.
I was a fan of like Rocky Horror, and stuff like that growing up, and this just really like stuck along with that kind of goofy, dark, this is very spoofy horror comedy stuff. And it just kind of resonated, and it was just a big downward spiral. And I think soon after that, they were touring with Iron Maiden to Tampa. And I wanted to go, and I don't remember what happened. I think that literally all of my coworkers went, and I had to cover all of them and stay working. I was so mad. And they had another tour that came around, and they actually played in one of my burlesque venues in Tampa. They played at the Masquerade.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And there were photos of this, and I was a bartender there, and I did burlesque shows there. I was a go-go dancer there, and I was like a model there, a greeter, and I was not booked the night that they were there. And it was bizarre. Like, for some reason, it slipped my mind that they were there that night, and I missed out, and I was so mad. And it's like, damn it, because they were still small at that point, and it's like, oh, I could have seen how cool this was from 4 feet away.
You could still hold the band in the palm of your hand back then.
Oh my God. Like, I had keys at the damn venue. Like, I could have let them in for load-in. How cute would that have been? I could have brought them lunch. Like, damn it. Yeah. And then they did the thing where they were hiring like nuns to be a part of the show, and they had like an audition email or like you submit, and I was like, oh my god, this is my chance. Like, hi, I love you guys, and I'm already a stage performer with a decent command of an audience, so they don't get gropey. Please pick me. Pick me, please. I need this.
Please pick me, goddammit.
Please fucking pick me. And it didn't happen. And that tour, they ended up doing away with it entirely. They didn't have any nuns in that show. And it's like, fuck me. Like, that was my opportunity. And now it's like, hey, I found a way in.
There you go.
Yeah, I still have zero involvement. I've only been to, I think, 3 concerts at this point, maybe 4 now. And they've all been Imperator. So it's,
well, I mean, my first one was last September.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, my first ritual was in the Woodlands, Texas show in September of 23 on the Re-Imperator. And
nice,
dude,
they were all very good.
Yeah, and something nobody talks about is when you go to these shows and you're doing this outdoors, mind you. I think maybe those guys probably learned a thing or two about this performing and all that shit. You and I both know we lived in the South for long enough. The amount
I don't know how they did it. I don't know how. Even with cooling vests on under all that shit, I perform wearing some of that stuff in my shows, and it's been hot. And even just walking around in it, I don't know how they made it. I have no idea.
I don't either, because I was in the crowd with a shirt and shorts on, not even in the pit. I was, in this, like the seated pieces, like underneath the awning. I didn't get lawn. I didn't want lawn. I wanted to get as close as I could. And it was still fucking hot. It was still hot.
I was really genuinely concerned when they announced that last year's tour was outside in the heat in the southern states, in Arizona, in Florida, and all these storms. And it's just like, you guys can't do that again, man. You can't do that to yourselves. Having worn this stuff on a stage in heat for one song during an act, I'm genuinely stripping out of it. So like I get some relief, but these kids are stuck in that shit for hours in the heat. Even if there's fans on them, like there's no escaping it. And it's just so uncomfortable. And it's like, I was really, really concerned. Like these kids are going to get so freaking sick because heat stroke can literally kill you.
Yeah. Like I was looking at that shit too. Like I go full dad mode. I go full parent mode when I see stuff like that, because we were talking earlier about like our ages catching up with us and all this other shit. But I look at that and I'm like, okay, like that's, like I'm a dad, literally, and that instinct just kicks in when I see these kids out there, and and I'm a show producer, and I couldn't imagine subjecting my cast to that kind of situation
without like a lot of compensation for it.
Yeah,
it's like how are you going to ask these poor folks to stick this out with you? Like, holy shit, dude! Please don't do that to them again. Like, oh my god. I was really fearful. Like, I'm glad everyone's okay. I don't know if anyone really did get sick from that, but I would have been puking in my own helmet. I know my limitations. I've done parade stuff. I've done outside mascot work. I've done heavy dance in leather, in jackets, in helmets, and balaclavas and all that stuff. Like, there's no escape. It's just this horrendous situation. And oh my goodness, like those poor folks.
Yeah, I heard that the helmets for the ghouls and ghoulettes have like some aircon like rigs in them. Like that's what the little tubes are for in some of the spots. But I
sure hope so. Even then, it's probably not enough, and they're so tight fitting. I have an ice vest that I wear under some of my stuff when I go to conventions, because Dragon Con is excruciating. It's in Atlanta. It's during the heat. It's 100 degrees every day, and I am still wearing those costumes. And I have to have an ice vest on under it, and even that only lasts for like half an hour. And then it's like visibly sweating through your clothes because it's just ice packs melting. Like, yuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even my helmets, I don't have an Impera ghoul helmet, but I've got all the Papa ones, and I've got all the pre-Cal era ghouls and stuff. And those ghoulette helmets are no joke. Those things are heavy.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Oof.
Oh, they're clanky and heavy. And it's funny because mine are so padded. I put motorcycle helmet padding inside of mine, and even then my head still rattles around in them like a walnut in a shoebox. I got like a little kid-sized head. Like, this doesn't work well on these things.
Looking like a fucking literal lollipop walking around.
This like a pumpkin on a toothpick. Like, this is just silly. I feel like a bobblehead. I can't wear the majority of my own Papa masks in my collection because they're all made for huge, like, dude heads. And it's like, no, I have to pad every single thing I own or I look ridiculous. It's just going to be flapping around on my face.
And me over here is like, my head is too goddamn large for some of this stuff. So like, I guess that keeps me from spending the money on it. I would buy it and look at it. I don't think I would actually wear this stuff, but I would buy it and display it. That stuff is like,
I've got a nice little display cabinet with all this stuff. And, it's funny. I do collect things now, but I've only bought one item in my entire collection, and it was a Meliora ghoul mask. Everything else I have was donated or somebody sponsored it and sent it to me because they wanted me to have it. And then I just turned it into a show.
Hell yeah. That's how you fucking do it.
So I think what's happening was podcasts like this were having me on and asking me my biggest show inspirations, and I would mention Ghost, and people would hear it and be like, "Oh my God, what's your address? I'm sending you some stuff." So now I have all this shit here. It's funny.
But say that's fucking cool as shit, though.
Put it to good use, yeah.
Yeah, and putting it to good use turned into another part of what you do is the Phantasm events. So like that's really where I found out who you were, is through word of mouth, Instagram, social media, the like.
Thanks.
How did that all like get rolling for you?
Well, it started with Ghouls Ball. That's what came first.
Yeah.
And that was kind of dipping my toes into it because I'd been kind of wanting to do something a little different. Every few years I fall out of like wanting to obsessively work in burlesque and I need something else. So I'll either go back to like, I'll just work in a bookshop for a year, or I'll just go back to bartending, give myself a break. Well, there was a little cocktail party in downtown LA that showed up on, I think, Reddit, and it was Ghouls Ball at the Mermaid and DTLA. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And the caption, I think it was shared by Legion of Ghost on Instagram. It was a little listening party. And it was right around the time the pre-Imperator was coming through. And I was like, oh shit, I just got a Goulette helmet. Let me grab my catering uniform and put it on, because it's literally the same exact outfit Goulettes wear. It's a bow, it's a necktie, a button down, and black pants. So I showed up with it, and it was a fucking blast. I was one of the only people that showed up in a cosplay, and I became like the hype girl for the night. And it was just, people wouldn't let me leave the dance floor. It was so freaking fun. There was a DJ, and he was adorable. He had some swag to give out. And I was like, this guy must be connected in some way. That's so cute. And I was like, please do this again, man. This was just a blast. And I went to the next one. And as I went, it became like a monthly party. And I just kept going. And it was just so much fun. And I'd bring more of my cosplay friends. I would bring more of my cast members and stuff like that from my shows. And it just kept growing the crowd. And it was just really fun. And I sat down with the DJ like, yo, can I like somehow be involved with this? Because this is just really cool. I'm an event coordinator. I write stagecraft. I do shadow casting. Like, I would love to somehow make some kind of entertainment for this. And he was kind of like, yeah, get out of here. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, never mind. Well, then it kept going. And, eventually the parties sort of fizzled out. And then we had the Whiskey A Go-Go event here in LA. And I ran into the same guy. He was there. And I was like, hey, man, you remember me? Let's talk for a second. Because I got some time. I got some venues. I'm producing again. Like, I'd love to reactivate this with you if you want to, let me take the lead on this. It'd be really cool. And he was like, you know what? Let's talk about it. So I'm not going to explain how he is connected intrinsically to the world of ghosts.
Sure.
I've been asked not to. But he became an advisor, and I told him, look, I want to take something like this on the road. I want to make like a shadow cast with theatrical immersion and stuff like that, and like costumes and just like a listening party, like how you had it for, the Little Mermaid bar. And he was like, you know what? Why don't you just take this? It sounds like it's your thing. And I was like, okay. And he goes, here's some rules though. There's some ground rules. Like, you can't sell tickets. You can't make it look like you're profiting off Tobias's work. And I was like, got it. Noted. He goes, cannot use like officially, official anything in the language. And I was like, got it. He goes, and just tag us. And I was like, okay. So I just tagged the Ghost, fan page or band page, whatever. And he gave me a couple of leads on social media, like Children of Ghost was like, why don't you go talk to them and they can maybe help you promote it. And I popped back over to Reddit with like a fresh booking. And, I was connected with a DJ who wanted to spin ghost vinyls and classic rock vinyls. And we put our heads together and kind of dug around in our collections for stuff we really didn't, want to hang on to. We put a little prize bag together for like costume contest winners, just out of our own collections. And like I grabbed some old mummy dust and like stickers and patches and like and one of the banners, the concert banners, threw it in there. And we went down to a bar called Knucklehead in Hollywood, and they happened to be Ghost fans. They actually used to follow them from tour stop to tour stop and go and follow the tours. And they were like really into it. And they said, you know what, we're not going to charge you to use the space. And I was like, good, because we have no income. we can't sell tickets to this. And he goes, okay, well, let's try it. So we did it. It was packed. It was amazing. And they wanted it to be like a monthly, like every other month we started doing it. And the venue suggested we open like an RSVP Eventbrite just to make sure we can track how many people are coming. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I do like a donation link there? So if people want to pitch in for production value, I can buy more costumes. I can buy more stage props. I can buy more stage lighting. We can get more DJ assets because we had to provide our own sound equipment. All of our vinyls had to be our own. We needed editing software and things like that to make little sound bits for our live shows. And then I had to start, hiring dancers and dressing them and like putting actors into costumes, and all that money ended up just kind of paying for itself. Like we still do Ghouls Ball. It's just a little less frequent now because there is no ticketing. There is no way to get any kind of income rolling to beef it up anymore. We had to buy stage dressing, fog machines. We had to literally build out an entire nightclub, candles, little goodies to leave around. We have little tiny rats that we leave around the place, and little goofy, like little tiny saxophones. If people find it, it's like you can keep it. It's just really cute little scavenger stuff, And I started talking with Phobias and Sister Belladonna, two of my very good friends. And Phobias comes from an art directing background, and Sister Bella comes from theater and administrative. And I was like, do you guys have ideas for this? Like, do you want to get involved? And Phobias was like, well, I'll make photo booth stuff. Like, I'll make a photo experience. So she started replicating like the family dinner scene with the Chinese food, and like we did just like a standard like churchy backdrop for something else that we had. And then we started leaning into fan fiction. So she managed to find a casket in the venue. They just happened to have one. And we had done a reenactment of what could happen if Papa Terzo was in fact reanimated from the dead. And we punked the entire audience, the entire party. We had a mannequin inside that coffin the whole night. It was a photo opportunity. It was Terzo's funeral, and people could take pictures of it. It was really cute. I had a funeral wreath. We had all this shit built out. And through part of this stage show, everybody was inside. So we swapped out the mannequin with an actor.
Oh, shit.
And we were like, hey, y'all, why don't we go get like a cool party photo with everybody in it by the casket? So we directed everyone, come outside with us, come outside. And Phobias got up on a balcony and was like, okay, everybody smile. Hey, what's that? So it was like those two panels that medics will put on your chest to like pump your heart back to life with electric shock. What are those paddles called?
The defibrillator.
Defibrillators. Yeah, we had one of those. And none of our cast knew this was happening. So we had one of our cast like, hey, why don't you look like you're going to reanimate him with those paddles? Like, do like the rub them together and like clear. Boom. So she did it, and she was like, wait, what? Because he moved. And she's like, I'm sorry, hold on a second. And Phobias is up there like, no, do it again. So she did it again, and the actor came to life. And our girl that was doing it with the paddles had no freaking clue. And she kind of freaked out. And the whole crowd heard her like shrieking and look back. And he's just sitting up with his little sunglasses like, yo, guys, what's up? Oh my God, the whole room went ballistic. It was so cute. And then he hopped out, he sprang out of the casket and started dancing through the crowd and like drew everyone back inside for the next performance bit and led everybody in communion. And it was so freaking cute. And it was like, there's no way we can freaking top this, right? So then we're sitting down, and it's like, if we had like a decent budget, we could probably come up with bigger stuff. So we started coming up with the idea for Phantasm, which would be a ticketed party away from the Ghouls Ball brand. And it was kind of more of a theater-based event, partnered with like fundraising events for various like trans youth charities. And that became the one that we were able to travel with to different venues because we could actually have a budget with ticket sales. We could afford to lease a venue. We could afford event insurance the way that like a pro level event has to have. There's a lot of investment that it takes to create these nightlife parties. And the fact that Knucklehead was so gracious with us doing that with no budget coming in for them at all, like no minimum spend, no lease for us. They just wanted to have the party there. It was astounding because no venues in the city will do that, especially not here in LA. So we started getting, other people in different states wanting this party out there. We've got we've got files for a lot of different states. I've got one for New York, one for Chicago, Florida, Texas, Colorado. There's something I'm working on probably around like the Portland area. These are all just like ideas that were blooming. None of this is set in stone yet. And we were even talking with folks in Berlin right now. There's Mike Corleone has been chatting with me a little bit about possibly bringing some kind of collaboration together, either in Berlin or having him out here with us as a guest, which would be amazing. And the demand for it to move and travel is incredibly flattering. It's very graciously received. And it feels really nice because we're the only party like this in the world. It's completely theater.
Yeah, and just from what I see, you know, like people post photos, they post like little clips on Instagram. You have to be there. It's definitely, yeah, it's a fucking must see, must be there kind of deal. And
it really is. Yeah, it's very special. And the girls constantly surprise me with what they create for it because Phobias writes the majority of the stagecraft. I put in little bits here and there, but I primarily handle securing the venues, getting the date booked, handling the ticketing, and like just getting everybody confirmed for it cast wise, and just getting the marketing done. They're the creative end entirely now. Like I just go with whatever they want. It's like, what do you want me to be? You want me to be old Sister Imperator? I'll do that. You want me to be Jim DeFrock? I'll be that. You want me to be Papa 3 again? I'll do that. Like, let me know what you want and I'll just try to figure it out and I'll hop on stage. And we ended up having a really cool one at the Mix down in Pasadena. And we were able to get the ticketing to a level where we could afford a band, and we hired Emeritus. It's LA's big ghost tribute band. Yep. And they blew me away. They're so special, these kids. They're so sweet. Every single person involved with that crew, like if you can support one of their shows, please go because they really deserve it. They put their hearts into this. They're wonderful folks. Yeah, they really have been a huge part of this with us for a long time.
Yeah, they're fucking amazing. And for those of you out there listening that haven't heard this episode, please go check out my episode that I did with Papa Cognatus not very long ago. He was a goddamn delight and a half to have.
He is so special.
That whole band is fucking fantastic.
They are fantastic, fantastic kids. I am so lucky that we are this close to them, and I'm grateful for it because God, they've been from the very first event we had. They've all been there, supporting it every single time. It's so special. And they'll play with people. They'll show up in their costumes. Papa will show up and do karaoke now for us at our Ghouls Ball parties. And he'll, jump in like, hey, what do you need? I'm ready. Put me to work. And it's like, are you serious? Like, what? Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, and these are the kind of people you want to have around. Like I have been, as well as I do. I know I'm preaching to the choir here when I say this, but for everybody out there listening that doesn't know, it's like, Vita, you and I have been around a lot of shit. We've been around radio, podcasts, bands, performance art. I'm a fucking choir geek.
Yeah.
The people you want around you are the ones that have the drive, the hunger, the initiative that want to be there. I have been around some of the worst goddamn people in my life, and you can tell they don't want to fucking be there. And it's just like, why are you here? The people you want to work with show that drive and have the passion for it. And Emeritus is one of the coolest ghost tribute bands that I've seen out there.
They are so freaking cool. I'm connected with, I guess, pretty much the major, like, big popular tributes. I'm connected with them. I'm friendly with them. And you're absolutely correct. Like, you have to be surrounded by folks that have the same interests and are as passionate or fixated on it as you are. The only reason we're able to do these parties is because it's completely staffed and performed by people who are obsessed with this band. They just want to be involved somehow. They want to be here. They're sacrificing hours and money and time to be there and create these events with us. And now they're all coming up with their own stagecraft for it and bringing me like, hey, I've got this cute idea for a scene. Can we do this? And it's like, yeah, you want to? Okay, sure. They want to be involved, and it's like I don't have to drag them here to like do this and like work. It's just like I cry every single time we have one of these parties. I get very emotional about it because I know how exhausting it is to be a performer and to volunteer your time like that. It's not easy, and we don't earn anything doing this. It's extremely expensive. We've all like blown so much of our own pockets on this event. And they do too. All of these folks that are jumping in and like being a part of the performing arts, and like just even our DJ is just like, I just want to be here. Like, buy me a drink. And it's like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do it. And he's like a pro sound person, DJ extraordinaire. Like he's so excited to be here. And everyone is just so excited to share their joy of this silly, goofy band. Like, this is just absurd. And I can't believe I have found so many creative types that, are in the industry professionally that just want to give their time to this and like build it. It's overwhelmingly beautiful. And it's given me like a whole new family. Like now I know these folks' families and children and parents, and we all travel together, and it's just like I have a whole new world. Yeah, I have that because I'm a fan of this silly rock band. Like, I never thought that would bring me this to any of this. It's been a life-changing experience. It really has. I'm grateful for every bit of it.
Same here. I've said this a few times on this show before, and just to people in the community, I've never been a part of something like this or anything close to it, really. It's both a giant fucking machine and family at the same time. It's insane.
It really is, yeah. And it's funny, even just if you go to any of the live ghost rituals, you end up becoming friends with folks that are just like staff. And it's like, oh, the VIP guy. Hey, dude, please don't blow your voice out. Here's a pack of throat drops. Please stop yelling.
Right.
Poor thing. Like, I want to bring him like a personal, like, little speaker box mic thing so he doesn't have to yell down the VIP line all the time. Like, here, man, I need to give this to you, bud. Like, let's help yourself out. Like, I've done your job, bro. Like, you're wearing me out.
Hurts my throat watching you. Please stop.
It hurts my throat watching you. Please stop.
Hey, buddy, drink some water. Take a cough drop.
You want some Pedialyte? I've got a goodie bag for you. Here's some insoles and some Tylenol. I'm sure you need it. You know, you become friends with these folks, and it's like, this is just so adorable. Like, everyone's just so welcoming and happy to see people. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of meeting people and seeing people, before we get out of here, I know you have a couple of things that are in the works that are coming up, such as you have a couple of screening parties and meetups set up for the Right Here, Right Now movie, and also the UK Phantasm event. Would you like to divulge on these two things?
Let me turn into an announcer really quick.
Do it.
There's a lot coming up. If you are listening and you are interested in checking out a Phantasm party, we have the legendary Christian Rodrigo joining us as Jim DeFrock for Phantasm Ghouls Gone Wild. That is at the Mix in Pasadena, California on June 15th. Portion of the proceeds and vendor money will be going directly to Transfamily SOS. And we've got a couple of other gay and trans youth foundations that we're going to be giving some money to from that. So ticketing is a higher premium for that because it's going to these foundations. We've got the 2 screenings we're going to be doing at Universal City Walk, AMC. The first one is opening night. We're doing a little pre-party at 6 p.m. There's going to be a little prize baggie brought to you by Loma Vista Recordings and some Ghouls Ball goodies in there as well. And the Sunday screening will be a 2 p.m. party before the 3 o'clock screening. Same place, same deal. Show up dressed your finest. Let's make a presence. Let's make it fun. I might be a picketer. God hates Gonst on my picket sign. Come find me. But it'll be really fun, and you can meet some new like-minded people, make some new best friends for life, and bond over our silly fixations. And then we've got also at Dragon Con in Atlanta. This is fun. The Friday, August 30th at Dragon Con at the Hyatt Hotel, I'm hosting a ghost fan meetup. Meet and mingle with your guesties, but you have to have a Dragon Con badge to attend. This is a free meetup. It's for everybody. It's for all ages. Come and hang out. It's not going to be a full ghost party. We're not doing any performances, but I'm going to have a ton of giveaways for everybody. It's going to be really cute and sweet and nice and silly. And Phantasm UK, I'm crossing the pond. This will be Friday, August 16th at the Impossible Bar in Manchester, England. And tickets are still available, but very few are left. And I am partnering with cosplay musician James. He's going to be my kind of co-wingman on that one. So he's a super fun cosplayer, very prominent public figure in the ghost world, a hilarious guy, and just a total sweetheart. I've been friends with him for a while now. And he's just a gem of a guy. I'm so excited to work with him on this. So this will have a lot of drag feature performances. There will be some fun special guests there, and it's just going to be a really great time. The Impossible Bar staff have been just lovely with us. As I tried to explain what the hell this party is, it's like, it's just a fancy dress party with ghouls and Satan probably. And they're like, right, let's book it.
Could it possibly be Satan?
Could it be Satan? I don't know. So they're letting me take over the bar and decorate it, build it out, and it's going to look phenomenal. I'm really excited to get over there and do it. I've actually got a ton of folks from the US that are flying out to be a part of that. So you're going to meet some folks that have been in costume with Phantasm parties on stage with us that are going to be there. and making a scene with me. We, of course, are still booking Sisters of Sin who are interested in leading our Unholy Communion. So if you are interested in doing that, send me an email at ghoulsball@gmail.com with just a little, hey, here's me. I want to be a nun, and I'll see if I can get you in there. It's probably going to be maybe 5 or 6 people to lead that. It's going to be really, really fun. We do it with every show, and it's just a big, silly, goofy thing. We get a little funny with it. I think that's all I've got.
You heard the lady. Get the fuck out to all of these things, especially this Friday at Ghouls Gone Wild. I have been looking forward to this event in particular. I really wish I could be there, but damn it, bring y'all's asses to New Orleans and party with me in Louisiana sometime, Vita. Seriously.
Oh, I would love to do that. I performed out there for ages, and I would love to bring the party there. I think it would do really well.
I think so too. I'm like 3 hours from New Orleans. I'm 2 hours from Houston, but I favor New Orleans because I think New Orleans needs more ghosts in its life, because I don't think they've gone to New Orleans in quite some time, and it would be fucking fun to have something of you guys doing something over there.
I would love to do that, and I've got a couple of venues I'm thinking of already that would be perfect for it. So if there are any tribute bands around the area that would like to jump in and help out with that, that would be really cool. Also, we were looking at some Texas events possibly, hopefully someday. But yeah, I desperately miss New Orleans. I miss it every day. I would love to bring the event there, and it's been a while since I've been back. So maybe we can collaborate on that if you want to.
Yes, please. Let's do that. Let's have a drink together when we do get out that way. And I got a couple bands in mind. I'll shoot you a DM on.
Yeah, let's talk about it. That could be great. I would love that.
Yes, you got my number.
I got your number.
Got my number. Vita, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come hang out with me on this. This has been a fucking delight. I adore the shit out of you. I love everything that you guys are doing over there, and you know this. I don't have to tell you this, but goddamn it, you are always more than welcome back anytime you want to come hang out with me.
I want to come hang out more. Thanks.
Yes, please.
I feel the same of you, darling. You are wonderful. And I think everything you bring into this fandom is hilarious and lighthearted and silly. And you just make this so much fun. So thank you for doing all of this stuff for us.
Thanks a bunch. I appreciate that.
We're both sitting here blushing.
Yes, we are. I'm about as red as my backdrop is right now. Shit. Thanks a bunch again, Vita. I'll catch you down the road, okay?
I will see you soon.
Awesome. If you would like to attend any of the events that Vita has mentioned, please scroll to the show notes below and follow Phantasm Events on Instagram. It's probably one of the best places that you can get this information from. I will also provide a link in the show notes below for this weekend's Ghouls Gone Wild show. I'll also include Vita's socials there as well. For past, present, and future episodes of gonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating and comment on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, commenting below. Anything helps. If you would like to join us on Stationhead for a gonstFM radio ritual, if you'd like to buy gonstFM merchandise, if you would like to join the official gonstFM Facebook group, gonstFam, all of this can be found in the show notes below. And so, my dearest gonslings, this brings today's episode to a close. Some of you I will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you I will see in gonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we Tronst. I'm Richie. I'll see you next time.